Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. It's time to shimmy with Jimmy. It's time to fail with Failla. Jimmy is back for the Monday evening roundup.
Yes.
Literally, he's going to spray Roundup weed killer on all of our daisies.
Every artist has a process.
So, Jim, I got to tell you, I had almost the exact same weekend experience this weekend. I did last.
No.
So you and I were supposed to fly. We were on the Last and Liberty tour from Chicago to LaGuardia.
Yes.
Got diverted first to Western Pennsylvania, theoretically.
Before
landed in Cleveland. Before we got any news about how long we would be in Cleveland, we were still on the plane. You rented a car. We drove almost 8 hours from Cleveland to New York.
Yep.
So yesterday, I had been in Memphis for 4 days for Freedom Fest, which is the highlight of my year, with my associate, Isabella. And I got a message at 6 a.m. from United. Your flight has been canceled.
Oh.
But we can book you on the same flight tomorrow, but you don't get in until Monday at 5:30 in the evening. I was like, well, that works for absolutely no one. So I spent an hour and 20 minutes on the phone. And while I'm on hold for, 20, 30 minutes at a time, I'm checking with car rental rates. And then I check out how long it takes to drive from Memphis to New York, 16 hours. And so I was like, I can't do that to Isabella. I could if you were driving. If you were Miss Daisying the two of us, it would have been fine. So what we did is we had a day the Failla household would have high-fived.
Give it to me.
Because we didn't have any time during Freedom Fest to do anything. The only thing we got to do was one day we had a half-hour window. We walked over to Bass Pro Shops to the giant pyramid in Memphis and had Wahlburgers.
Fair.
Which was awesome.
Yep.
So we didn't get to see any of the sights. So we started off on Sunday. We have this whole day to ourselves to do, it's like Memphis is a blank canvas, let's paint. So, of course, we went to Graceland.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
The guy standing King of Rock and Roll.
King of Rock and Roll.
Isn't it so insane to show up and know you're at Elvis's house?
Yes.
First of all.
And you really feel it.
Yeah, he's the king. And they did. They buried him in the backyard like a king, like a dog, like a here boy. You know what I mean? But no, it's Elvis's house. And it's like the most I've been there twice. It's powerful to me.
Yes.
Because it's what's weird about Graceland is like it's very much as it was when he left.
Yes.
Like I do believe there's a chalk outline by the toilet upstairs.
Yeah, but
they don't let you see it.
No, it is intentional how authentic they keep it, because even it has like the musty smell of an older home. And that was one of the first things that struck me. But I wasn't mad at that because it made it feel like a real home.
Yes.
And so, you can either do the audio tour or read the little placard. So I read the placards, and the table in there, and it's like you walk in, and to your left is the dining room. The table is set. They tell you the china pattern that Elvis and Priscilla registered for. And the placard said that he had 10 to 12 people and they would sit and have dinner, and you can totally imagine it. But the sweetest thing that, it's also, there's a sadness there because Lisa Marie, when her kids were little, she would bring them to Graceland and they would have dinner at that table.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so heavy.
Yes.
Well, I hope they ate better than Elvis did. I mean, he was, the king.
And then you go through the kitchen, like he had one of the earliest microwaves. And, he had the avocado green linoleum countertops.
Did he ever? Yeah. It's a period piece. The Jungle Room. No, listen, I love Graceland so much. And I think Elvis.
And it had its name, by the way, before he moved in.
Yes. So they had horses there, and there are still horses there, I think, on some level.
Yes,
like backs up
and because there are signs that say, please do not touch the horses. I would like to think they're attack horses and they just bite people's hands off.
No, it's like so amazing is that like, he lived there. Everyone knew he lived there. They would hang out outside, congregate. And he'd come like, if you ever watched the Elvis film, that part of it is very accurate where he'd come like ripping in and out of the gates and there'd be fans there. And that was just the life he led. He was like a very human guy. And I think going there, even though there's a lot of debauchery, like the decor is pretty out there. And you get to see the auto museum, which again, he has a million different vehicles. It's pretty out there. But you realize there's just like a dude behind it all. Who liked playing like touch football.
Yeah, a dude, a showman who had a piano like almost in every room.
Yes.
Like even the racquetball court.
The racquetball court is amazing because they have like all his gold records and stuff hung up there now and stuff. But that piano, that's like the last piano we ever played, right? They say on the morning he died, he played Unchained Melody after like a round of racquetball and then came inside and just died.
Yeah, if you read his autopsy report, it's not the most uplifting thing in the world.
If you read his autopsy report, very similar to our cholesterol intake on like a given weekend for the Last and Liberty tour. But yes, it's not the best.
But there is something, and so I really liked being there because we are very much in an Elvis resurgence.
Yes.
You know, obviously with the movie and the documentary that's just come out, the passing of his daughter this year. And, you know, that's also sad because the last time I was there in 1993, it was at MTV, and my show, Alternative Nation, had sponsored a summer tour with Screaming Trees, Soul Asylum, and the Spin Doctors. And so we spent a week in Memphis kicking off the tour, and we got, you know, a private tour of Graceland.
That's
and
cool.
it was awesome, but there were only 4 graves there, and now there are 6 because
Yeah, it's sad.
his grandson and his daughter have passed very recently, and that made the meditation garden so heavy because, you know, yes, Elvis left the earth way too soon, but it's even more tragic knowing that whatever pain he was in, it didn't skip a generation.
Yeah. No, it kind of made its way through the next couple. That part's really rough, but I think there's so much to be learned about people based on their Elvis stance. I think great people like Elvis.
Yes, and they appreciate that. But if you stand back, because he wasn't a bad guy, and he tried really hard to be a
the best.
good person, and he was absolutely bombarded with fame from a very young age and so much pressure, and being arguably the biggest star on the planet in the late 50s.
He was the most famous person on the planet in the late 50s, and that was different because celebrity wasn't divided the way it is now. Like, celebrity now is like a timeshare. There's 10 million people you've never heard of who have 10 million followers, which is like back then, if you were a famous guy in the 50s, there were like 3 of you. There was like you, Mickey Mantle, and the president, you know, but Elvis, of course, was globally famous because of what he did. And I think the people who truly get Elvis, the people who truly love Elvis, they are, to me, the best people because they see a humanity in Elvis. This is the hook, and this is where I think he endeared himself to like people like me. It's not skinny Elvis that's on the postage stamp. It's the fat Elvis that we like because he's the one that seems to be the most flawed. You know what I mean? He's a little chubbier. He's sweating. He's got the weird recipes. He's now gone from like a pop matinee idol to he's singing like country covers, you know, a lot of scarves. But Elvis was the OG because, you know, it's so fascinating. But in today's day and age, it didn't happen. But when he was in like Las Vegas, he would be like making out with chicks on stage. Like, he would sing Love Me Tender. If you go look at like Elvis in Vegas, that documentary, or Elvis, That's Just the Way It Is, he's like literally throwing like a scarf around a woman and making out with her and then going to the next woman.
Well, I have to tell you, there was one night in Las Vegas where he got 4 women pregnant on stage.
It was one of the most impressive things we've ever seen. No, I love Elvis.
I don't hear enough about it.
No, it's amazing.
I do too. And so I think anyone who's on stage and feels a sense of showmanship, you owe a lot of that to Elvis. Like, to have all cylinders clicking at the same time, to sustain that, I think, is impossible.
Yeah.
And for him to sustain that for 20 plus years, it was heartbreakingly impossible. But there's something in there that need to connect with people and give them something so aspirational that even pro wrestling owes a debt of gratitude.
They
to
love
what
Elvis. The honky tonk man alone. I mean, think of those contributions to society. No, Elvis was in everything we did. He was so great. And you know what's funny about it is, like, when you see what other performers responded to it, like how they respond, like the Beatles left. Everybody wanted to meet Elvis because he was Elvis. The guy's name was just a one-name guy. You know, there wasn't a lot of that back then. Long before there was like a Charo or maybe a Geraldo, okay? You needed an Elvis to have a Madonna. You dig? He was Elvis. He was the key. Absolutely, positively was the king. This makes me want to go listen to Elvis, and I own, like, to the point of exhaustion, every Elvis live thing you could possibly own. Like, I had a big Elvis hole in my 20s where I used to walk around in the glasses, like before Johnny Knoxville did. Not that he knew who I was and took it from me. I'm just saying, like, I was kind of ahead of the curve on that because I went down this crazy Elvis hole in like my early 20s reading about him. There's a 2-part book out there that everyone should read. It's called Peter Guralnick wrote it. The one, it's called Last Train to Memphis is the first one, and the second part is called Careless Love, and it's about the rise and fall of Elvis. But it's, of course, written in conjunction with a lot of members of the Memphis Mafia, and there's so much inside baseball into what he was like, especially towards the end. And this is the thing you would get a kick out of. So Elvis was, towards the end, he was into El Caminos. And he used to just like walk around like shopping malls, befriend people, and be like, I'm going to buy you an El Camino.
So I've heard that.
Yes.
And I aspire to be that rich and
Oh,
that
buy you an El Camino.
eccentric that I meet people and I like them,
Uh-huh.
and I want to give them something,
He would take them to the
a
movies.
token of my affection.
But you got to think about how amazing it is when you talk about giving back to the community. Okay. One of the things I always tell you that I love so much about George Michael is George Michael, as a gay man, would go out from time to time and hook up in public restrooms. Now, I know that sounds risque, but if you look at the generosity in that.
I mean, who among us, Jim?
I mean, come on.
I don't judge
But
the
when you
man.
look at the generosity of spirit, okay, some bloke is cheating on his lunch break, goes into a bathroom stall, and gets the biggest pop star in the world.
Yeah.
That's not what you expect to see on the other side of the door. You think of the generosity of spirit it takes to give someone that. But now it brings me back to Elvis. As everyone in the control room.
These are the real glory holes that we should be honoring in our society.
Well, the
and in
Bruce
our
Springsteen
culture.
song Glory Days was originally called Glory Holes. They're like, yeah, you got to clean this up, Bruce, a little dicey. So anyway, you think about Elvis,
Huge
okay?
George Michael fan, let's be
We
honest.
love George Michael and Bruce as well. So I don't know, I'm not a Bruce fan, but yes, I was trying to tie that together. But stick with me. So Elvis used to walk around the mall. He would meet people and be like, yeah, I want to take you to the movies. And they would go to the movies.
I would go to the movies with him.
But how amazing is your life if you have to call home and be like, yeah, I'm going to be late. I'm going to the movies with Elvis.
Yes.
No one, first of all, no one believes
There
it.
are no cell phones. There's nothing to post.
No, nothing to do.
But I share with you that love and being there and being in the Auto Museum, because there was an event they had for RFK Jr.
Yep.
A couple nights before at Freedom Fest. There was sort of a panel with Matt Taibbi and Del Bigtree and a woman named Nadine. I can't remember her last name, which is awful of me. And she was the president of the ACLU for 20 years. And it was a very interesting conversation. But I was so intrigued by these cars because I love old Cadillacs so much. And at some point in my life, I want to own a 59 Cadillac. I had a 62 Sedan DeVille for many years that I worshipped. I loved that car and eventually sold it to pro snowboarder Jamie Lynn. What's up, Jamie? I hope you still have it. Hey, girl. But it made me want to listen to Elvis's music, to know his life. But the music resonates so deeply. I, like you, went down a pretty deep Elvis hole when I was in high school, to the point where I obsessively wore a photo print dress with Elvis's face all over it.
That's funny.
And I had a bumper sticker on my Volkswagen Rabbit diesel, 1983 Rabbit, that said Elvis is alive.
You're damn right he is. Listen, they don't let you upstairs at Graceland. So I
do not.
I think he's still there, personally. The tour ends at 5. That's
right.
probably when he's playing the market during the day. The market closes. He comes downstairs.
Yeah, early in the morning, he's playing racquetball. He goes out and pets the horsies.
He likes
Lets
the
all
horsies.
the rubes come through and ogle his things, and then he goes down and has a fried peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Oh, how good does a peanut butter and
Sounds
banana
amazing.
sandwich sound?
Out of that.
I even have the Elvis cookbook. Somebody got it for me for Christmas, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It is like, but it's bad because like Paula Dean is like halfway through. Is like, I got to interrupt this. This sounds unhealthy. she's literally got a trough of butter in either hand. She's like, this sounds like it's getting a little carried away, Elvis. I don't know about
Yeah,
this.
she's drinking a Crisco smoothie and was like, hold on a second. She's a Surgeon General. So, Jimmy, I know, and I'm going to do a monologue about this later in the week. Memphis is not what it used to be, but it is still amazing.
Yeah.
So,
And it's the home of Elvis.
absolutely right.
So they win for that alone. He's the king that makes them the king by default.
Yeah, so we went to Graceland, we went to Central Barbecue and had just mounds of smoked turkey, pulled pork,
Good for you.
dry rub ribs, green beans, French fries. Like, it was incredible. And then we went to the Peabody Hotel and watched the duck parade as the duckies left the fountain at 5 to great fanfare on the red carpet. So if you go to Memphis, you have to go to the Peabody. It was extraordinary.
Amazing. I love how you're leaving out the part where you were tased by security and thrown out of the
Several
hotel
times.
bar.
And what surprised me was the duck master has a cane with a little duck head for the handle. The bottom of the cane is another gold cylinder that has a cow prod in it. So they were shooing me back from those. I just want to pet the duckies.
Oh, you're the devil in disguise.
That's absolutely right, Jim. We'll see you next Monday. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. Along with Jimmy Failla, I'm Kennedy.